Welcome to Season 3 of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. I'm Coach Audye.
And I'm Coach Regan.
We're here with you weekly to anchor and empower women to break cycles,
build resilience,
and rediscover self-worth
through practical insights,
faith-based encouragement,
and a supportive community. Welcome back, everybody. I am here with Audye again today, and I'm just going to get excited and go straight to the important part. Audye, did you have your baby?
I did. I had my child. Would you like to know how quickly I had my child?
With all of the jealousy in the world, I'm going to listen to your birth story.
It'll be short and sweet. I woke up at 3 a.m. having contractions that were like awful, and I thought I was at the beginning of labor. Long story short, my water breaks 20 minutes after that, and then 20 minutes after that, my husband delivered our child in our bathroom at about 3:40 in the morning, which was crazy, but we were all good. Everything was fine, and my birth team arrived like shortly afterwards and was able to double check everything. But I mean, we had it in the bag on our own, which was crazy. But yeah, so 40-minute labor.
So how many days ago was that?
That was on Friday morning. So it was
Okay.
literally after we recorded the episode with Claire. It was maybe just less, about 12 hours, maybe a little less after that.
Oh, yeah. So Audie, you're like taking things to get labor going. You're like, I'll just stop and record
Yeah.
a podcast and then have a baby in the middle of the night tonight. That's your
Yep,
story. That's so wild.
that's my story. Yeah, it's
Yes.
crazy. Disclaimer, we had a short pause there. Disclaimer, I really enjoy doing this podcast with Reagan. I love to sit down with her and I love to have these conversations. And I absolutely, I'm 4 days postpartum, but this isn't crazy overproductiveness. I just want to clarify that I'm having so much fun. So anyway, that's why I'm here today. We totally could have taken a week off, but yeah, I love talking to you, Reagan.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that disclaimer because I have checked in on you so many times, like um and it's almost like becoming a form of like disrespect for me to tell you this is you need to stop. It's like, no, she knows what she needs and she's got a good support team and your head's really screwed on straight and you're not having like any signs of wow, like these are some red flags that we need to really pull back. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like the best way to support Audie is to trust that she knows what is best for her. And if she wants to show up, then awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm so blessed this time. And like I told you, like 40-minute labor, like there's all these little things that have been happening and I could tell immediately last time within 2 or 3 days I was like, "Oh, you are having a hard time, like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety." And I've had like a couple little spouts of anxiety and I run it by my husband and he's over here saying he was like, "Yeah, I think I've had the same bit of anxiety." And I was like, maybe this is regular anxiety that comes with adding a child into your family. And so it was so funny. I was just like, is this normal? And yeah, everything just feels so normal. I feel so blessed. I feel so loved. Um, and yeah, thank you for checking on me. But anyway, just wanted to put that out
Yes.
here that I'm doing okay. This is not crazy. Everything's fine.
Oh, no, I'm so glad. We would have words if I saw you struggling along, but I'm so glad you're not. And when you are, we'll
Thank
be
you.
here for you.
Thank you. Really
Yes.
appreciate it.
So I'm going to kind of interview you a little bit today, and we'll kind of have some conversation and some interview style. But for people who don't know, you and I first really started our professional relationship by me becoming your coach. And I
Yeah.
got told no by you for so many times. Like, nope, not interested. Nope, not interested. I'm like, Audie, okay. But every time that we had a call or a conversation, it just was like so obvious to me that we were a good fit, we were a good match, like we were in the same place. And so I didn't want to give up on you. So,
Yeah.
um, let's go into that a little bit. Like when you visited with me and we had like a dream session where we're kind of going in and looking at what you want and don't want in life and kind of getting some clarity of where I am and where I want to be. What made you still say no? Because I know we had great sessions like that, and then you'd be like, "Nope, I'm still not going to coach." I don't want to coach.
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. I remember walking away from that session because we went like overtime, I think. Like it was just a bunch of like it was such a good session. And I remember I was pregnant with my last daughter, and I just remember I'd been at home. I hadn't been bringing in any income for a few months because I just got sick, terribly sick during that pregnancy. And I remember telling my husband, I was like, I did this thing with like this one lady from my church that I knew, like when back when I was in Abilene, and um it was so funny because I was like, it was so good, but I was like, it's too expensive. I was like, I don't have that. We don't have that right now. And I didn't even ask him for it. I was like, it was just really cool. But like we just can't afford it right now. I don't even think I told him how much it was at that point. Um, and so that's what kept me mainly was the money. And me not making any money. I was like, I can't ask him for that money. I was like, I don't even have a kid yet. Like we're pregnant and baby's here, the baby's not even out where I'm taking care of her. I'm like, I'm barely keeping up with life, barely keeping up with the house, like doing these things. Like, I don't deserve that. Like, I totally don't deserve to spend money on this whole coaching thing. Um, and so that's what kept me like, that's definitely what held me back. Um, I want to say every single time we talked, it's probably what it was.
Yeah, it's just okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So why did you finally switch over and say yes? Because you didn't have any more
Um,
money.
I didn't have any more money. No, I definitely didn't. And I think that's such a funny thing, but every single time I talked to you, I got something out of it. Like I just felt myself growing in some way. And whether it was like a DM conversation on Instagram or just seeing your posts or something, it was one of those things where I was like, I know this is what I want, and I think you sold me in the very first time that we talked. Like I'm 90% sure I was sold, but I couldn't get over the fact that I couldn't ask for that money. And so what really did it is with having severe postpartum depression and anxiety, I went through like so many like family of origin issues at that point as well. I had reached a breaking point where I was like, okay, something has to change. Like I'm literally like my husband and I, our marriage was not what I wanted it to be. I didn't feel I didn't feel okay at all. And by okay, I mean like I didn't feel like myself. Like it was almost kind of like an outer body type experience where I was just so stressed and so overwhelmed. And so just soaked in postpartum depression. I just I was like, I've been going to therapy, I've been doing everything that I'm supposed to do for this, and nothing's changing. And like I said, every single time I talk to you, it was like I found a new puzzle piece to put in play, and things just started making sense. And so I remember it was like October, and you were like, why don't you just come and see? Like come and see if this is gonna be the right fit or whatever. And I can't remember if I committed to you before that or after that first session. But that was like I was like, okay, I have to be here. Like I was like, this is exactly what I needed. And I brought that to my husband, and I was like, it's gonna be this much money. She can split it into this many payments. Can we make this work? And all he needed basically was two things. One, to understand like what the woman's school masterclass was, because that's what I did with you. Um, and the second thing was my full like I was 100% convinced. I was like, this is what I need. This is going to change my life. And I was like, Eric, I fully believe this is going to change my life. And he said, even after understanding what the masterclass was, he was like, your conviction convinced me more than anything else. Like, it doesn't even matter. And he was like, of course, we can make this work. Like, of course, we can do this and figure this out. Um, and yeah, I'm like, the rest is history.
Oh my gosh, I have chills because you were the first client that I watched transform really, really fast. Like you did the work. You didn't just like read about it or us talk about it. You went and like put it to practice, and you would come
Yeah,
back 2 weeks later and be a different person in a new
yeah,
state. Like you had evolved, you had a state change like every couple of I mean you had a small change every 2 weeks, but so like as month by month you were a different woman. I mean,
Yeah.
it's truly, I have chill bumps all over just thinking about that time. Okay, but you had to hit rock bottom with postpartum depression. That was your thing, and that's what I have a an aunt here staying to visit, and we're kind of been talking about her story because she's been a client of mine too. And she's like, I literally had to hit rock bottom, Reagan. And she's like, it's so
Yeah.
dumb. Why didn't I? She's like, had I started working with you before, I never would have hit rock bottom. Like, I wouldn't have gotten
Yeah.
to this point where I had no skills to deal with the challenges of life. So,
Yeah.
why is, I don't know. Do you have anything to, like, anything to say to that?
Ugh,
Why do we wait till rock bottom sometimes?
I don't know. I don't think that, I think it's interesting because most of the time we hit rock bottom because it goes back to like self-worth and self-image, but specifically, like, I can think of the people I had in my life at that time, and I can hear your voice, and it's loud and it's clear, and it's like, this is Reagan saying, this is what you need, and this is going to make you feel better, and this is literally like, we're going to change your life with this. But then I would hear a billion other voices over here that are kind of just like myself included, where it's like, you don't deserve that. You don't have the money for that. You can't ask for that. Or like, life is fine, or you just need to offer this up, or like kind of just like going down the list of like, um, how would you know this is gonna work? Or I'm trying to think of like, it sounds new agey, or like a bunch of other like coaching isn't regulated, right? We don't have letters behind our names. And so it's like, well, if it's not regulated, then it can't be good, or it can't be like, this can't be something that's actually going to work. Um, and so I don't know why, other than the fact that when I hit rock bottom, and I would like, and trigger warning, like, things were rock bottom. Things were rock bottom. Things were not pretty. Things did not feel good. Um, and by they didn't feel good, I mean like, I like found myself drinking way too much wine. I found myself sitting there thinking like I don't necessarily want to exist anymore, but I also know that I absolutely couldn't follow through with that. And so finding yourself like stuck between these two giant awful things, I kind of like would think back to when I was younger, and I was like, this is not what I pictured. Like, this isn't what I pictured my first year of marriage to look like. This isn't what I pictured my like experience with my first child to be. And I want to say there was definitely an emotional there was an emotional connection to like, what if I do this to my daughter too?
Hmm.
And I think that was something that definitely connected, like, with all my own generational trauma, and then everything falling onto me, and then it was just like, oh, like, this is much bigger than you think it is. Like, this isn't just like postpartum depression and you're the only one struggling. Like, my husband was struggling. I could possibly like hurt my child growing up as far as like emotional abuse of some sort, and having fun from that. I was like, you know what? Like, this is it. Like, I can't do this anymore. And Reagan has these answers, and um you giving me a deadline of like, come and see this, and then let's see what happens. I really think that was the moment for me where I was able to see it, and I was just like, this is it. I thank you so much, Lord. Thank you, Reagan, for pursuing me. 10 months later, here we are. I'm gonna say yes.
It was like my own pregnancy to get you as a client. 10 months of
Yep.
waiting.
10 months of waiting.
Oh, so worth it though. And now you're a coach and you've become a good friend
Yeah.
and you oh man, we've gone on a trip together, like we've built friendships and a
Yeah.
whole community in the Rising Tide Fellowship. It's just like the rest is so history. So, can you
Yeah.
remember when we first started, because we do so much together when we coach, it's
My
so,
gosh, I know.
it's so everything you need. And so one piece of that is really finding your purpose. Your dream of the season
Yeah.
is what we call it, but it's your purpose for this season. Not like it doesn't have to be forever, but just right now. And do you remember kind of doing that work together, and if you felt, just what did that feel like when we first started talking about the word dream? Hey, Audie, what is your
Yeah.
dream?
Yeah. I kept saying things like, my dream is to have like the laundry done, like to have a routine. And you kept being like, that can be part of it, sweetie, but like what's like going into it, like what's your purpose? Like what's the deeper, why do you want to have that laundry routine? And I remember, Reagan, that question ticked me off
Every
because I was like,
time,
I don't know how
every
to answer
time.
that. I don't know how to answer that. And the same thing, I was like, okay, well, I want to have an orderly house, and that's the reason why I want the laundry done. So I'm like, I'm not stressing out. And you were like, okay, sweetie, that's great. Why?
Surely I wasn't
Like each
condescending.
answer.
Okay,
Oh
sweetie.
no, 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 no,
No,
no,
I'm
no.
just
Definitely
kidding.
not condescending. But in my head, it's just
Yeah.
like okay, well, well, now what's next? And so I just remember it was so difficult. And almost every single time I came back with something, it was the same. It was like, okay, but why? Like, okay, but
Hmm.
why? And that was frustrating until I realized that I was like, I want this because I want to be healed. And I was able to verbalize that much, I remember. That was my first ever dream, was to find healing. And but I didn't know what it looked like. And even when we went through the 145 DGA and these other things, like I was able to pull out a handful of things that I considered healed or that I thought would be healing of some sort. But it took me literally and I say it took me a long time. Like I did just like you said, like I went through and it took me a long time of actual, like I sat there at my desk with like my 3 month old sitting in the little bouncy chair next to me as I'm just like trying to like okay, what do I like what is healing? What does this mean? Um so it was really freaking frustrating
Yeah.
until I was able to pull that out. And then even after I was able to pull that out, I still didn't know exactly what it meant. And so I was still frustrated. The healing aspect, having a name for it gave me hope and like an idea of like a direction to go toward. And that's all I needed to be able to start deciphering what the healing meant. And that took time. Like that
Hmm.
changed over the course of the whole time I was in your group. Um, but that was the very first one. And like after I had that dream, like there was relief because it was like, okay, like I have like this thing that is big. This is why the laundry is important. This is why lowering my stress is important. This is why adding people to my community and having friends, that's why this is important. Um, but yeah, before I was like, I don't know, I just want it because I'm stressed out. And you made me dig deeper. Um, and it was incredibly uncomfortable. Thanks for making me do it.
Yeah, my gosh. I didn't like it either. I didn't like dreaming. And I've gotten a lot better at coaching on dreaming because, you're not the best coach at the things that are hard for you personally to do sometimes. Sometimes it's like your best
Yeah,
work and sometimes it's your worst. But I've had to do a lot of getting better at coaching that because every single, I've never had a client that's like good at dreaming. In fact, I
yeah,
just went through and interviewed a lot of my clients that we just finished up in the high tide and asked them a lot of questions about it just to learn more about it. And they're like, I hate the word dream. Like, I want you to use a different
yeah,
word. So we started using the word mission. What's your mission? What's your God given mission for this season of life? And then they're like,
yeah,
okay, I can do that. I can talk about these things. But it's just so frustrating at first for all of us when it's you. But let's talk about why we
yeah,
do this stuff. Why? I mean, so Audie, you came with all of these beautiful desires. Like, I want to have the laundry done. I want to have a routine. I want to have a clean home. I want to be a good mom. I want to be a good wife. But until we figured out the greater dream behind it, all of those things were drowning you, and you weren't getting them done.
yeah.
So
Yep.
what changed as we kind of put your focus in this like big 10,000 foot view? Why did that make the small stuff easier?
Yeah, it definitely made the small things easier because it wasn't just like it's kind of like the saying like how do you eat an elephant? Like one bite at a time. And that was eating an elephant, but I didn't have a reason to eat that elephant. And having that dream gave me a reason to eat the elephant. And like theoretically, eating the elephant was like because it's taking up space in the fridge and I don't want it here. Like it could be whatever reason there is like for me that was the same thing with the healing. It's because I'm done going through these same cycles that I have gone through my entire life. Like I'm done being burdened by these things. I'm done being burdened by like stress and anxiety. I think we touched on it in the overthinking episode where I was talking about like my husband and how I was just like that I projected so much stuff onto my relationship because of how I grew up. And that was one of the big things. I was like, this is holding me back in my marriage. This is holding me back as a wife. This is holding me back as a mom. If I have the same belief system that I was basically given to me growing up, like I'm going to create the same childhood for my children. I'm going to create the same spousal relationship that my parents had. I'm going to basically do these things. And once I had that awareness of that, that has given me that 10,000 foot view where it's like, oh, like this could be really bad. And so for me, it was driven by the first dream, the very first dream of becoming healed. It was fully given out of not fear, but out of want to do something different, out of wanting to be better for my family, and to give my family a different chance than the one that I had. Um, and so yeah, I think that that 10,000 foot view gave me that motivation to see the full picture, and not just to see it one time but to remind me of that full picture every single time like I did the laundry or like didn't do the laundry or whatever in my head. It was constantly a reminder of like this is working toward your goal. Like I can see these pieces going in here. Like this is the direction to complete this.
So it's motivating instead of just like another day of dreary, mundane, just gray life, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, we're kind of hitting that again right now. We have this, like, we've had this big breakthrough with my husband and I. We've had multiple, like, these big leaps and jumps because figuring out what your dream is, then step two is to create a strategy to get there. But
Yeah.
part of that strategy is changing we call it mindset, but we call it a state change. We have an emotional change. We have our self-worth. Like we stop looking at ourselves the way people have labeled us, or we've labeled ourselves, and we start seeing us how God sees us right now and who He's calling us
Yeah.
to be. And that is what I think. I'm just trying to like bring this together here of this feeling of, because again we're fighting it right now, like we have a new dream and we're hurting and we're like stretching and we're trying to do that next big hurdle. So I'm almost like a brand new client with my husband and I right now, just starting over for
Yeah.
the first time. And what we're realizing is what we're struggling through is um, the grind and the effort and the like just pushing through all these little things is what you were doing until you started dreaming, and then you realize it's an elevation and an invitation to
Yeah.
rise. And so even though my husband and I have done that 15 times, we're at this new precipice where it's like, Roan, we're grinding again. We're trying to do the little things and we're
Yeah.
trying to force it instead of using coaching to rise into that and really get clear on the dream of the season and move into that emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's bigger than just being a taskmaster. Like, and that's what you came in as. You came in like, look at all the little things I'm doing that are killing me. How am I supposed to do
Yeah.
something on top of that?
Oh my gosh, I know.
And it's shifting
Absolutely.
it. It's shifting it.
It's shifting it. It's again, it's like, what's the point of eating the elephant? Like, and that's where my husband and I kind of had like a similar conversation where it's like, I'll use like my Hashimoto's for example. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's like 4 years ago. Um, and we would go and I had a great doctor that would help me with my diet, and we're like naturally trying to reverse things, and she put me on thyroid medicine. And I was like so like I didn't want to be on the thyroid medicine. I was like, no, just like like fix me. Like like just like let the diet do its thing. And she's like, but your thyroid isn't functioning correctly. And so if we're able to supplement this for a little while, eventually you're going to be able to wean yourself off of the medicine, but we're going to give you this supplement to like help you move along. And like I said, I did not like that idea at all. I was like, I'm just gonna like give me, like I said, give me the tasks. Like, let me check this off, check this off, check this off, check this off. And the thing that was so important, and this is the way I look at coaching in the sense as like kind of like thyroid medicine, where it's like I needed someone like you, like I needed you hardcore for like I don't like a full year, probably like a full year of I needed those group sessions, and then eventually we switched to private strategy and diving in really deep. And like that's my thyroid medicine. Like I needed that to be able to pull the diet together, like to be able to get the routines going, to be able to do these other things, so it wasn't just checking off a list. It was like there's purpose behind each of these pieces. And again, going back to the thyroid medicine, if I didn't have the thyroid medicine, I don't think I would have been able to have number one, the energy to work on that diet, to work on the exercise, to work on these other pieces that I had to do. And I fully believe coaching with you is what gave me that energy to be able to you reminded me of my motivation. This is your dream. So it's not just me doing it. It's like you reminding me of my dream. You reminded me why the laundry's important. You remind me why it's important not to just like berate my husband for something he did wrong when it probably is this tiny minute thing that I just need to work on my mindset around. Um and yeah, that coaching, going back to like what you said about starting over and like feeling like you're in the grind, like you need someone constantly with you, constantly. And my husband wasn't cutting it. I didn't have high quality friendships that were cutting it. I didn't have anyone in my life at all, other than you, Reagan, that was able to help me get on this path. And I think that that's what so many people are missing is we just jump in here, just like you said, we're going to grind it out and we're going to do it. And that has a success rate of like, I don't know, we should really look that up because I don't know exactly what it is. I don't want to throw a number out there. Just from personal experience, it never worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know about you, Reagan, but I bet it probably hasn't worked for you either.
Yes. Well, and I'm watching my husband like do that right now and kind of hit a brick wall just over and over and over. And I love his hard work. I love his work ethic. I see him working hard and I'm supporting him and our family supporting him. But what happens is we're watching it not get better and it's like kind of an energy
Yeah.
leak in our family. And
Yeah.
everybody knows like what that feels like when someone's struggling and to have a
Mm,
breakthrough and just can't. And it's so
yeah.
like we just had a discussion about it, and I was like, I would rather us um, allocate money for you to hire your coach again, for you to get through this, instead
Yeah.
of giving you 700 hours to work your way through this. Like,
Yeah.
like you're such a hard worker, but let's work smarter and not harder. And so why
Yeah.
don't we just allocate some money and get you your coaching again, and that way you can bust through that wall without breaking your head
Yeah.
open. So yeah, that makes sense to
Absolutely. And
me.
I love hearing that spousal conversation because like that's fully what it is. Like you guys are a team. And like all the married people out there listening, like if you feel like you can't bring something to your head, like I felt like I couldn't bring this to my husband, it is I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for a lot of the times, it's not necessarily that you're afraid that he's going to say no, it's that you're afraid he's going to say yes. And for me, that was terrifying. And so I like the what I just hear with you, Reagan, is like you didn't even like I don't know the conversation, but like theoretically you showed up with the like a I'm here to support you attitude. And I know for a lot of us, we have the fear of like, what if he doesn't support me? Or like, what if he does support me and then I fail? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if I go out of my way and I try this thing and then I just completely fail? Then I've let him down and we've wasted money, and like I can just like hear the litany of the reason why we don't pursue that dream or don't follow through with that purpose. And I hear it because that was me. I'm like, I created the litany. Like you can find the download on my website. I'm just kidding. But like seriously, like that's the extent of where we were at. And we just, in order for our marriages to grow and to thrive, and for us to be individually growing and thriving, is we have to find that dream, we have to find that purpose, and we have to know that work toward being able to bring those things together and know that the other person is not waiting for your downfall. We're not waiting for each other's downfall. We're wanting our other spouse to succeed. And so I just like, I applaud you, Reagan, because it sounds like you just showed up and you're like, let's do this together. I want you to succeed. I want this to be great. I know this is going to be good for our family.
Well, thank you. But just like everybody else, I did like almost think like we can do it ourselves like 100 times first, and now I'm just like, okay, enough. Let's just get help,
Yeah.
and it works every time we do it. It's like it's I guess it's also an act of humility, and then like you just said, what
Yeah.
if it doesn't work? And my husband
Yep.
really has that shame element because I don't know why I was just I almost have like rose colored glasses, and I think like I'll just try something else. I'll try something else. I'll try something until it works. Like I
Yeah.
will not quit until I win. That is my personality. My husband is closer to shame, and it's, if something doesn't work, he's like, "Well, I am a bad person. Like I should have done better. This is on me. I was irresponsible." And when I
Yeah.
asked my clients like why they hesitate with dreaming, they said that too. They said like
Yeah.
it's embarrassing. It's hard to
Yeah.
even say out loud what a dream is. Like don't ask me to like really dream about traveling or business or like becoming a musician or like having another baby or
Yeah.
like homesteading, like all the beautiful dreams I've heard over the years. You have to pry it out of these women because they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because it feels like if I tell you and it doesn't happen, that makes me a bad person. That makes me feel
Yeah.
so much shame. But
Mm.
what's the truth there?
Yeah, the truth is definitely I resonate so much with Rowan because I'm very close to Shame. Shame and I are good friends. And we used to be. Um, and I think it's really interesting because I don't know what happened, but for me, I will not have that reaction anymore as far as diving into like going back and full shaming. Um, and then I'll shame myself about not having that reaction. And so it's a really interesting concept. These things that we do, but yeah, I resonate with that, but I don't know what it was that changed it, and I wish that I could really I'm probably gonna have to take some time to think about that one because being so close to shame, I never experienced any growth. And that actually might be it. It might be the fact that I experienced growth when let shame go. Um, and I don't know, got addicted to letting shame go. Wow, this is a really good feeling that I can just fail and show up and I just I don't know. I really can resonate with that, but I don't know why we do it. I don't know why that we have to because that was very much part of my thought process while the 10 months I put you off was if I fail or if this doesn't work, like it's fully reflecting on me. Like this is fully it's 100% my fault. Um and this just it's just not true.
So it sounds like a big part of this is learning that all successful people, every person who's ever been a success, got there because they have more failures than anyone else. Like at
Yeah.
everything. Like if we talk even like sports analogies, like Tiger Woods has failed more than anyone else, and that's why he wins. Michael Jordan has failed
Yeah.
more than anyone else, and that's why he won. Kobe Bryant, when I'm thinking about like saints and really holy people who have done beautiful things, Mother Teresa, like she has failed and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried, and
Yeah.
they have more failures, which is it's a part of success. And I think
Yeah.
that's a part if we're really going to Like give shame a little hug and say, "Hey, it's okay. Like we're still going to be dreamers because playing my whole life small because of shame, because I'm afraid to fail, I'm going to wake up someday and be really, really disappointed that I did that. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a big
Like,
cost."
yeah, how many people just like thinking about it, Reagan, how many people growing up could you, looking back now, could you tell had done that? Because for me, I can go through like my family tree, like people that were around me, like these adults that were like middle-aged that were just so unhappy.
Yes.
So unhappy. And I didn't understand why at that point. But now being able to look back with like the knowledge I have, it's like because you had dreams, because you had things you wanted to do. And I think the common thing right now is like we blame it on the kids. Well, I don't have time because of the kids. I don't have time because of the kids. I just had my second child a few days ago. This is something that brings me so much joy. My husband is on board, and I'm taking an hour out of my day on a Wednesday to sit down and have this conversation with you. We have to believe that it's worth it and then make it happen. Like we just have to make it happen.
But the joy in your voice right now is what's missing when you don't have the dream. Because you're
Yeah.
just like, it's another freaking thing I have to do today, Reagan. I have so many things going on. I just had a baby. I'm really tired. I'm
Yeah.
postpartum. And that's how everything in life feels. That's how motherhood feels. That's how grandmotherhood feels. That's how retirement feels. Like everything in life is like, I just have so many things to do today. And I have so, and I'm, and we can, but when you have the dream is like a carrot and it motivates
Yeah.
all those little tasks. And a great example of this is I had a client, she had a dream of homesteading. And it's like, I want to live on land, I want to build a beautiful house, and I want to homestead. Okay, so we broke it all down. We get to the some of the tools that we use in coaching and get it all down. And one of her tasks is to like paint the back bedroom and to finish the construction work that they had in a guest bathroom. And it's been sitting undone for like years and years and years. And she's like, it's just one more thing on my list. And I'm too busy with the kids and da 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 da. But once she saw it in the context of the dream, and she's like, to touch the homestead, I have to finish the bathroom. Bam, that weekend the bathroom's done because she's
Yep.
excited about it. And that's what
Heck
your
yeah.
smile is right now. I'm like, you're excited.
Yeah. I'm so freaking excited. I think I told you before I gave birth, a couple of days before I gave birth, I was just like, again, you were asking me, you were like, are you sure that like headspace right now, like again, things can change and it's okay. And I'm like, I'm grateful for you asking me that. But also it's like this is part of the dream. Like this is something that I want to do. Like I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah, second kid. Let's go. Like I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Like we've got it we're moving forward toward my new big dream. And I think that yeah, like that joy that's missing, there are moments where it will become mundane. And I do find myself, okay, we're falling back into the grind. And that for me is now like because of the neuroplasticity and how we rewire our brain with mindset work, that is a trigger for me to jump back into the dream. And so I have like this constant flow of like this back and forth. I can do the same thing with my husband. We actually had a conversation the other day, where he felt very much in the grind. And last night we had a completely different conversation about the exact same thing because we've touched the dream. Giving birth to another child is touching the dream. And there's like, oh, like here's this great human reminder that this is why we're moving forward.
Yes, 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 yes. And it's a really hard thing. Like if I were talking to you before you said yes, before you started coaching, it would be really hard for me to explain to you how I went from having a hard time waking up in the morning with joy to like
Hmm.
jumping out of bed really ready for life.
Yeah.
It sounds like a
Yep.
stupid salesy thing to say, but that's actually
Hmm.
my experience. And I'm the same way. When I have a hard time or when my husband has a hard time getting up, it's a signal to me, hey, you guys need to go back and touch the dream. You guys need to make sure because
Yeah.
that it's a red flag. Like, hey, this is not normal.
Yeah. Not at all. And I definitely think that I like. I sometimes think about Audie a few years ago, like 3 years ago, Audie will say, and I think that if she were to meet me, like she would think that I had we had done like some witchcraft or something like that. Like the amount of transformation is insane, and so I can totally just it wasn't salesy to me. You weren't salesy to me, but I hadn't been able to believe that I was worth that. And so that I can see how somebody would be like, "Oh yeah, that's just a salesy thing." Um, but I go back and I think about her and I'm like, "Girl, like if only you knew. If only you knew. Like that tiny bit of extra financial burden that you are avoiding so hardcore right now is the key to unlocking so many beautiful things over the next 3 years.
You just
Like
nailed
if
it.
only I could go back and tell her that. I wish I could because I would have done it immediately. But I learned a lot of things along the way in the waiting period. And again, we go back to hitting rock bottom. And I am so grateful and so appreciative of hitting rock bottom and being able to get up from rock bottom because not everybody gets up from rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I thank God for that. Um, And I thank God for you every day too. Like I have seen how our friendship and relationship has just completely evolved and it's turned into something where we get to work together all the time and it's just we have a good time and then we like we talked about on the podcast the other day we were angry with each other and then it's just like it's just fine and now we're having kids like a few months apart and it's just like our lives are just so there's so many blessings, but I literally had to I had to say yes. I had to believe that I was worth it. And you had to believe that you were worth it in order
Yeah.
for me to believe that I was worth it. And I'm like, I don't even think we have time to touch on that
I know.
that
I
whole
was thinking that
aspect
too.
of that too.
That's such a huge piece, and I'll just say to like round that off, and then we'll finish there. But like Ryan Carr always says, like in her mind, the way she serves her women is like serve the woman, you serve the family. Transform the woman, you transform the family.
Yeah.
Because and so we're just working from heart to heart, one woman at a time, just so that because
Yeah.
that woman is going to impact her entire family. And so even if you don't think you're worth it, and if I don't think I'm worth it, you did know that your daughter was worth a very healed mother. And
Yeah.
that's where I was too. I'm like,
Absolutely.
I believe that my kids are worth more than a mother who's not even happy. Like I dreamed
Yeah.
to stay at home. I stayed at home and I hated my days. And it's like this, there's gotta be more. There's gotta be more than this. Like, wasn't happy
Yeah.
working, wasn't happy not working. Like, come on, we gotta do something. So, yeah, if I guess I would say that, like, obviously, once you start coaching, your self worth is transformed because we start doing so much work about who does God say that I am? Who does God
Yeah.
say that I am? And we start really asking Him that and doing that work and listening and seeing, like, God, give me a vision of who you say that I am. Give me a memory of who you say that I am. And we do that work, but from the beginning, if you don't have enough self worth to say yes to getting help, then do it for your family.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that just sums it up so perfectly. Like if you don't believe that you're worth it, you know your family's worth it. And that's where I think rock bottom is so interesting because it's like I think I am absolute crap. I feel like I am worth nothing at this point, but I know that everybody around me is made of gold. And
Mm,
I can't just leave them here. I have to do something with them. I have to show them off. And if that means I have to somehow become gold, but we can talk about that. We can think about that. But I could get a step up. We could instead of feeling like crap, we could be bronze. We could be bronze
yeah,
for
there
our
you
family.
go. Yeah.
So go be bronze for your family.
Yep. That's what when I told you my aunt who's a client, she said, "Don't tell people that you're gonna like give them the gold because I wouldn't have believed it." She's like, "All I
Yeah.
believe that you would do is like help me with like a little bit of pain relief." And she's like, "If
Yep.
you would have told me what actually was going to happen, I would have like probably been scared because there's just
My gosh.
so much joy and beauty and goodness and happiness. Just like, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be this happy.
Mm-mm. Well, we never are, and that's such an interesting thing to bring up. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we can like we can round
I
out the
know.
conversation. Um, I just we weren't ready to be happy. I didn't want to be happy. That's not the reason why I started coaching with you. I wanted to be able to like pull my head above water. That was the
Mm-hmm.
only reason. I didn't want joy. I still didn't think that I and deserved joy. I like even my marriage, I was like, this was for my daughter. This wasn't necessarily for my husband and myself. This was for her. And now looking at it and seeing all the blessings, like just being able to, I'm not going to go into everything yet, but like just the litany, just this list of everything that has gone so right. Like I think that would have terrified me. Like I think that your client's completely right. Like I think that would have totally put me off.
I don't want
I don't
joy.
want that. That's terrifying. Oh my gosh.
Isn't life
Like
supposed to be
I own a
hard?
company?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I had a baby at home by myself, like on my, like just
On
not on
accident?
accident
Yeah.
and did fine. Oh, I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that's a great place to stop. And if anybody has any questions or anything, they can go to risingtidefellowship.com slash what? Slash
Weekly
ask
fellowship.
us. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Weekly fellowship. You can click on podcasts,
Yep.
scroll down to the bottom, and it'll be there, like ask us a question. So throw it in
Yep.
there. And yeah, that's a great place to end it. Thank you, Audie. Thanks for sharing your heart.
Thank you, Reagan. This was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Reagan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audie, you can find her at audiegonzalez.com. Season 3 is sponsored by the Rising Tide Fellowship, an online community for faith-filled women looking for growth. You can learn more about our mission at risingtidefellowship.com.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.